Welcome to Epic Geek Out, the only show on the internet where Ferris Bueller never takes a day off. I'm your host, Rob.
And I'm Chad, and today we're going to be talking about an Xbox Live Arcade game, PS3 network game called Warp from Trapdoor.
And please, like always, send in your feedback at fans@epicgeekout.com. You can follow us on Twitter at @epicgeekout.
Yep, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's probably the most important thing right now, so that you can get our updates when we release new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. So let's get into video game stuff. All right, so today we're going to be discussing a little small game called Warp by Trapcode Studios, a small video game company. This is their first game that they've put out. It came out last month, mid-February, for Xbox Live Arcade. Just came out last week for PlayStation Network and PC. But we actually coincidentally played the Xbox version, but we thought we'd talk about it. It's a fun little game. Basically, it's you're an alien that I guess lands on Earth and gets captured by a group of scientists, and you get held up in a lab underwater. And you basically have to work your way out, escape by doing some of the abilities that the alien has. The first ability you get is obviously the ability to warp through walls. You can also warp.
I get it.
Yeah, that's why it's called Warp. You can warp through walls. You can warp into barrels and people, and subsequently explode people. And you gain more powers throughout the game as you absorb other life forms that the scientists found around the world. Just a couple of the powers that you get: you can create a ghost copy of yourself that runs out, kind of like a decoy, if you will. And later on, you can actually use that decoy to run your decoy out and then go into a barrel as your decoy and then swap yourself. You can also launch different things at some point. You can launch humans or launch barrels. A bunch of different physics-based puzzles. It's you're basically making your way through the lab, but it's a puzzle-based game. So
Is it? Would it be considered that? I mean,
yeah, because down further in the game, towards the end, there's some more rooms where you have to figure out the puzzles and different things like that. So, what did you think about it? It's
first off, it's not really my kind of game. I'm not into like the puzzly kind of game. I played it for a little bit. It doesn't have any multiplayer functionality, right? It's only a single player.
There's a challenges part.
Player
There's a challenges
with
part
like the leaderboards.
Yeah,
right?
so it's not really it's not co-op.
Yeah, going through the game, it was very similar to like the old Marvel games where you could swap in and out from like the X-Men games where you could swap in and out of like the different people, and just the level setup, because it's like the overhead view of the levels and then you're going through.
Yeah, it's like a 2D platformer. It looks kind of 3D, but it's really just.
And most doors you can teleport through unless it's like a double door, and then you'd have to find some way to get through it. Interesting. How much was it again?
$10.
$10. I mean, if it's your kind of thing, $10, it's worth it. Pretty graphic, pretty.
Definitely, it's rated M.
Definitely, like from the visuals in the beginning, it's kind of like a shading. It reminds me of the old Team Fortress Classic kind of like characters.
Yep.
And you're this little like cute alien, but then you're jumping into humans' bodies. You move the L stick around until they explode, and it's just a big splattering of blood. Yeah, they expand until boom.
Explode.
You also kill like just scientists and stuff like that. So I mean, it is very violent. It's weird because the alien's like this little cute thing that you get your powers to. Interesting game. I didn't get far enough where I got enough of the powers to really talk about them. So I only had the warp ability. But, it was fun. I enjoyed it, but it's not something that I would sit down and, it's short, right? Cause
I beat it. It's pretty short. I mean,
it's just not my thing. Nothing drew me in to be like, I just can't wait to play this again or anything like that. But, for $10, an easy download, you don't have to go get a disc, might be worth it.
I definitely thought it was sort of the poor man's Portal a little bit. It kind of had that whole concept of using physics and kind of one specific little.
Also, the beginning, the way it started.
Yeah,
I mean, very
they start
reminiscent.
up in a, what do they call it, like a container,
like a little lab room,
and they have to escape from that. Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought the humor was pretty funny throughout. They interjected some humor, not as much as Portal, but enough to make it kind of funny and make you chuckle a few times with just what the people were saying around you. the concept of the powers that you get introduced with were awesome. They're original. I didn't feel like it was something I played before. I mean, yes, the switching in and out for the X-Men games, I do see that a little bit, but I think it was less of that than just more switching to get to traverse. Instead of that,
Sure.
you're switching to gain powers and then use that power from that specific character. But I was actually reminded of a game that I played probably in the 90s on PC called Messiah. I don't know. It's a really obscure game.
Yeah, I don't know.
But basically, you're a little cherub angel,
Mm-hmm.
and you're evil, and you have to possess people, like jump into people's bodies, and you could control them. That was more like you're trying to blend in as the person, which you do
This
get.
one, you're just trying to explode them.
Yeah, which you can do that at some point throughout this game. You can possess a human, then clone yourself as the human, and then walk around. But it's not so much as like trying to like in that game you would become a security guard to use your security key to get into
Got
that,
it.
which was a cool little game that I liked. But overall, really fun. There was, I feel like it wasn't too difficult. There was some spots where I got caught a little bit, but then once you figure out what you're supposed to do, it's just a
Yeah.
matter of doing it. So there wasn't like too much challenge there. But there was a couple boss battles throughout it that were pretty neat. Just the way that they had you change up your approach a little bit. But it was kind of funny because a couple of the boss battles happened immediately after you got one of the powers, and I completely forgot that I had that power to use. So I was trying to do it.
The boss.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was trying to do it the other way, and then it was kind of funny because every time I died, eventually the little tooltips would say, "Hey, try this." You know?
Oh, okay.
So I like that
You're a
about it.
jackass.
Yeah.
Why don't you use this one?
And there's actually a really cool thing that they do. It's really simple, but with cutscenes to skip them.
I
did
like
you
that.
notice that?
Yeah, I like that.
You kind of just, it's almost like, it reminded me like an iPhone swipe, but it's not. It's
It's a
basically just-
loading bar.
yeah, well, you hold
I
down
mean-
B and like a little loading bar goes up, and if you hold it down long enough till it gets to the point, it skips the cutscene. Which is also because a lot of times I'll accidentally hit the
Accidentally
button
hit it, yeah,
and then
I've
skip
done
it. I'm
that
like, oh
before.
crap, I don't want to skip that. So that was a cool thing. It's small, but I wish the other games would adopt that. But I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was good. It was short, definitely worth $10 though. I had some fun. There's some fun to be had there.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Pick it up. PC or I'm assuming it would play different on PC, so I'd be anxious to see how it plays there. A little differently with a mouse, but
Yeah, would you, I guess, maybe click? Who
yeah,
knows?
I guess you would click through. But overall, fun game, interesting story, nothing too deep, but you know, humorous.
Yeah, $10.
Check it
I
out.
mean,
Nothing else really out right now, so you know we're going through some of these arcade games, and some of them are good. So.
All the fans of Mass Effect 3 just are
Yeah, I know, they're
kind of pissed.
They're indulging in that.
There are a couple things out right now,
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a couple things. Some things coming out in the next couple months. So we'll definitely be reviewing those when they come. But yeah, check it out. Well, that's all for another episode of Epic Geek Out. Now we are going to give our geek thanks for the day. So, Rob, what are you thankful for today?
Okay, this is sort of spoilerish if you are not caught up with the second season of Walking Dead. So if you haven't watched it yet, you plan on watching, mute me when you see me talking, because I would hate to ruin this for anyone. But at the mid-season finale for The Walking Dead, I would like to thank the person who came up with that final barn scene, where Shane just goes nuts, lets the zombies out of the barn. They're all shooting Herschel and his family's loved ones. And then, just the music stops and Sophia walks out. And it is just, I think, to me, the best filmed piece of television I've ever seen. I absolutely loved it.
It's definitely
You
powerful.
knew what was coming, or at least I knew what was coming. At one moment during it, I'm like, oh, Sophia's gonna walk out. But even when she did, it killed me. I felt my heart sink. So we're filming this.
It spoke a lot to just the whole dynamic of the group too. That Rick was the one that had to
Layer
step it up.
after layer after layer of that. I mean, the loss of innocence, everything, and just not even what it stood for the series, but how well it was shot.
And everything this
It was
season's
beautiful.
been. I've been impressed with a lot of stuff. So
Yeah,
definitely
this
great
season's
show.
been great.
Great show.
We're taping this on Saturday. We're very excited for the finale tomorrow, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be talking
Very
about it
excited.
at least briefly, because I'm sure there's going to be some crazy shit happening. I'm putting the over/under at 3.5 people dying, so place your bets.
Not counting zombies.
Not counting zombies,
Crap ton of those that
people,
died.
but counting lame characters that hardly talk.
T-Dog.
Or the random kid, or just
Yeah.
random stuff like that. So I would just whoever shot that, kudos. It was awesome. So Chad, what are you thankful for?
I'm gonna kind of go in the same vein. I'm gonna give a thanks to iOS comic book apps. I dabbled in comics a little bit as a kid, but not as much as other things that are geeky that we talk about in this show.
It's a new thing for us.
It's a new thing that we're kind of trying to dive into a little bit, and just it's so accessible to download an app on your iPhone. I think it's really going to revitalize the genre because I think bookstores are becoming obsolete, and especially comic book stores. They're struggling in this new media. So it's awesome that they can jump on board, and actually it enhances the experience because you can. I like how you can tap on panels and swipe just by the panel. You don't see a whole page necessarily, which is really awesome. So
it's also different though than holding
it's
paper.
not
but
a physical
it's what
book,
you're thankful for. I'm not going to rain on your parade.
But it's definitely giving me an in for comic books. The Marvel,
convenience.
The Marvel app is great. I'm trying to catch up on some of the interesting Marvel storylines coming out. There's actually Avengers versus X-Men coming out in April, which we're definitely going to talk about. And the Walking Dead app, which is all the Walking Dead comics. I'm through the first 2 books, which I think is the first 12 trades or so. So very different than the show, but something that I wanted to check out, and glad that I have the app to do so. So thank you, iOS comic book apps, and until next time, have a great weekend, and we will be talking to you guys next week with another episode of Epic Geek Out.